Hey everybody, it's podcast time. We're going to do a little funky today. Sam Alama just decided to drive halfway across the country to go see our good friend Brandon, so he's just going to abduct Brandon into the show with us. So that's what we're going to do. Almost Agreement at gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Go to the website, almostagreement.com. While you're there, check out all the cool stuff we got. I've got another event coming up at the beginning of the year, so we'll get to that. I guess there's an election or something this week. Guess we got to cover some of that. Early voting continues to rake it in here in Noxani, and we'll talk about some other stuff once this podcast intro gets out of the way. Favorite podcast provider, like, share, friend, follow, tell all your friends about us, that kind of stuff. So we're going to do a show, and just a second. Hi, buddy.
Hey.
What you doing?
Oh, chilling. What you doing?
Oh, just chilling myself. What's new? What's exciting in your life?
Oh, nothing really new and exciting.
Nothing really new and exciting? You just drive to Missouri every day?
Well, not every day.
All right, so like I said, the intro, we got our friend Brandon. Sam went up to visit in Missouri. Brandon and you were on the show a little while back. It's been like a year or so ago now.
Yeah.
We came back to town to visit. So what's new in the world of Brandon?
Not a whole lot, man. Just ready for this election to be over and, everything to kind of calm down a little bit. Still out on the river and just kind of living the dream, I guess. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad you're here. I can't wait to not have to see another Marsha Blackburn ad while I'm trying to watch Jeopardy in the evenings. I mean, it's just that part of it. It's just like, I like it. The question always to be on the at this point, like who out there has already made up their mind? Like really,
right?
Like that's where I'm stuck in this point in the election cycle. It's like if you're gonna vote, if you're planning on voting, if you're a dork like me that insists on election day, you already know what you're doing. There's not an ad that's gonna come out and be like, oh, never mind, I'm gonna vote for that person instead of the one I was planning on.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like I think if you haven't made up your mind by now, you're probably one of the most indecisive people on the planet.
You're right. It's either that or it's just this is an attempt to try to get people that were on the fence. I guess that's the only thing that would make sense. Is it's really about trying to encourage, talk you into getting out and voting of those people that are on the fence to even vote at all. It's like, well, I wasn't going to vote, but that Kamala woman, it's too much.
That's the last straw.
I still don't think. I think that might have been historically true. I just don't feel like that's true anymore. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I just don't feel like that's true. I feel like people know they're voting or planning on voting. Maybe some of this is to remind you of when election day is, but outside of that, I think most people have already made up their mind if they're going to vote or not, and who they're going to vote for when they do.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. What's did you early vote out there in Missouri, or are you a day of kind of guy?
I did. I have to get back on the boat next week, so Tuesday's crew change. So I went ahead and just early voted in person.
Gotcha. How's Missouri early voting work?
It's pretty simple. You just go to your town clerk, whatever municipal building and whatever precinct kind of lines up with your voter registration, and then you just go in and it's standard voting procedure as if like you were voting the day of.
I gotcha. Because like ours are long. I don't know how long Missouri is. We do almost 2 full weeks.
Yeah, we do as well. 2 full weeks.
Interesting. That is the fun of the U.S. system, is that we all have our own versions from state to state. Anything?
Right.
Do you guys have any ballot initiatives, or is it just you got a Senate race, probably a couple House race, and some local stuff?
Yeah, we got abortion was on our ballot.
Okay.
And also there was sports gambling. And then there's a couple other initiatives. We're raising our minimum wage to $15 per hour by 2026.
How was the abortion one worded?
Pretty exciting.
Do you remember how the abortion one was worded?
It was very convolutedly worded. It wasn't
Color me
like
surprised.
a direct, the way it was worded.
I mean,
Missouri basically went to like a total abortion ban out of the gate, and now we have to get the rights back, essentially.
Gotcha. Oh, real quick, are you guys in the same room?
Yes.
Okay. Because I can hear you in the other phone. Just put one of you on speaker and the other one hang up.
Okay.
I think that'll work better.
Roger.
Because I'm getting an echo out of the two phones, or the two phones hearing one voice.
Roger that. I'll hang up.
Okay. Right. Technical difficulties, people. Solutions. All right. So anyway, right, because Missouri is a pretty red state, right? You got a Republican governor, probably a Republican majority, if not supermajority in the House and stuff in the state of Missouri. Like St. Louis is probably Democrats, but are the rest of the states all red?
Yeah, for the most part. St. Louis is Democratic. St. Louis and Kansas City are Democratic. And then Missouri, I'm in southeast Missouri. It's strong Republican. This is Rush Limbaugh territory.
Check. Okay. Because like that's one of the fun ones is like, so the I guess the states, the Secretary of State of Missouri got to write that. And so a lot of times, I'm assuming in Missouri, the Secretary of State of Missouri is a Republican elected. And so he got to write how that wording was. And I could imagine that he would write it in a way that yes sounds like yes, feels like no, or no feels like yes. And it got real wonky.
Yeah, that's exactly the way it felt. I had to kind of like read it a couple times to be like, okay, yeah, I gotcha.
All right. So was it a affirm? Like, what was the actual thing you voted? Because a lot of them, some like the one we have a couple city ones and it's yes, no, but we've had some in the past where it's affirm or deny.
It was a yes or a no.
Okay.
But basically, it was like, do you want to vote? The way they worded it, kind of sort of was vote to put it in the Constitution. To like, I guess, cauterize it as an actual law in the Constitution for or against, because I think the legislation that we have now is a total ban,
right?
Total abortion, like Tennessee has,
right? So by saying for, you want them to codify the one that exists, or you wanted to? That's our.
For voting for, you basically wanted to change it to allow contraception and abortion rights.
Okay.
Yeah, because the way it stands right now, Missouri has a total abortion ban. Because much like Tennessee, they went ahead and just right out of the gate, they went ahead and did that.
Right.
And then basically left it up to the ballot initiative to change it, to reverse it.
Gotcha. Which, because like I think we were talking about this a couple weeks ago, Sam and I. It's like I think there's some stats out there that yeses or affirming are like 70% successful. And so when you want it, when you have a question you have to ask, and you want the answer to be yes, you ask the question. You ask the question in a way where the result you want is yes, even if it's functionally no. Because we had that here with the Knox County Law Director's Office, which is extra crazy because he got to write. He's obliged by the county charter to be the one to write the charter amendments on a ballot initiative. So he got to write his own charter amendment, and it was yes means no, like legitimately. Wow. Yeah. So it was fun. But anyway, that's cool. That's crazy. What's the local saying? It's that initiative is gonna pass and abortion will get legal again in Missouri, probably.
I believe so. I mean, abortion's one of those issues where it's like 80-something% of people in America agree that abortion should be legal. It's one of the few issues where you have that high of approval rate, right? Even in states.
Right. I mean, so I think everywhere else that's done one. I mean, everywhere else that's done one's been a red state because any of the blue states were already had some abortion law in the books anyway, so they were fine. So any of the, like, was it Kansas did one last year? Nebraska did one last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like all these red states that have had these ballot initiatives, almost all of them have won. And interesting, right. I think more interestingly is they're winning, but the Republicans are still keeping seats. That was one of the big kind of curiosities as some of these were happening, as we were curious, us political dorks like me, because you presume that a bunch of Democrats are coming out to support this.
People still want to support the GOP, even they still want to have their personal rights, or have at least that.
Right. And so I don't know. I guess my point was more, I guess, that like it seems to be a little bit of a misnomer that it's Democrats that are coming out and voting for this. It's that everybody is coming out and voting for this, even if you were generally a Republican.
It has a very high approval rate. It's one of the few issues that you can get that many Americans to all agree on. It's in the 80% range. It's high.
Yeah, it's the same here in Tennessee. I don't know if what I like. Do you recall? Did you recall any of the news locally on what got it on the ballot? Was it a local built petition, or was it a legislative move?
I believe it was legislative. I'm not terribly sure.
Interesting,
but I think there was probably enough public sentiment as well, being abortion, that but I don't think they could have gotten away with not putting it on the ballot. I think it had to be on there in some form or fashion.
I think if it's that big of a deal, I don't know. That's the thing about Tennessee that's weird, because I think it'd be if you're a Republican in Missouri right now, you get that as a ballot initiative, and then you get to wash your hands of it politically. It's like, I didn't choose this, you guys did. I didn't vote for this. Like all the stuff that I stand for as a Republican, I can still run on and say that I did because I didn't do this one.
Right.
Like I think it's a win politically for people that are in, that are running on incumbency and stuff like that. It's like, I didn't vote for that. You guys passed that, so you can't blame it on me, I guess is what I'm getting at.
It's the culpability of it. Like, who's to blame and who can you point a finger at
right. Exactly.
Which there's so many people that thrive on that victim status. So it's like, well, nobody wants to accept responsibility. So then you just end up, nothing gets done. Nothing gets accomplished.
Right. Exactly. For sure. So Sam, Brandon said he's getting back on the boat on Tuesday. So you're going to be back Tuesday to vote, or did you early vote before you left?
Did not early vote yet.
So you got to
did see a woman hold a sign, was like, Kamala is a liar.
Oh, there's some signs. There were some signs by the middle school when I was dropping off today that says the Democratic Party is a communist party, and it's got a website that I forgot what it is. I haven't looked it up yet.
It was just one woman standing by herself on the sidewalk.
I had to go down to City County this morning, and we finally, it rained. You left and it rained a little bit finally. And there was somebody setting up. There was some group, but they weren't set up yet to start talking to people. And so I had to be somewhere, so I didn't wait for them to finish setting up before they started pitching.
What were they setting up for?
Not sure. It was something like it was some collective, some downtown collective was what some of the signage read. It wasn't necessarily politics, but I was hoping to see more of it because the City County building is an early voting location, but there was none of this stuff. Because the election commission office is in the City County building, and that's one of the early voting places. And so, but I didn't say anything. Now that I think about it, there were no signs. There was no politicking. But it was also gross outside for the first time in weeks. So, that's that.
Yeah. In some county in Tennessee, there was like a bunch of signs that were getting stolen. Oh, no, people were getting like letters. And it was people that had more like hair signs. It was like, your address is going to be listed as a sanctuary location for 2 years.
In Tennessee?
I think so. I want to say I saw it on like the local Nashville news.
We talked about that sheriff in Ohio that had made that threat in a campaign stop or something.
Right.
It's weird. It's weird out there. I don't know. Yeah. But going back to the beginning, I'm ready for this to be done too. I love this stuff and I'm over it.
So it's been so polar and so intense.
But yeah. But it's, I don't know. It's just one of those, like, I look around and I talk to people, just general people and like coworkers and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, it's not polar. It's just it's polar for like 15% of the population. The other 85% just kind of going about their day and dealing with this 15% of psychos, whether they're psychos on one way or the other way.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's... that's becoming like one of the most apparent problems to me, is that that's how we live.
Yeah.
That this 15%, 20% or whatever it is, that's super passionate, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but they get to swing the big stick of what the world is that we live in.
Yeah, and it's what, 30% of Americans that actually vote. It's a fairly low number. I'm not exactly sure.
I don't know.
Percentage.
Tennessee ranks 51st in voter participation.
Okay, well there you go.
That's a real stat.
Yeah,
we are lower than the number of states there are. I don't know. That's my favorite new stat that I learned this year. Although Knox County's kicking ass. We're at early voting closed yesterday. Oh, that's right. Early voting closed yesterday. That's why there was no election stuff today. Early voting closed yesterday with 165,000 in Knox County. That's pretty good for Knox County.
That's really good.
Yeah. See if I can pull it. So we had 163,000 early votes cast, an additional 7,500 in absentee and nursing home votes. Those still trickle in over the next couple of days. November in 2020, there's 153,000 early votes cast, 21,000 absentee. Go back to 2016, 135,000 early votes cast. And I guess my math was wrong last week, Sam. So 2016, it was 130. There's about 140,000 votes cast not on election day, and a little over 42,000 on election day. So 2/3. So my 50% was wrong. It's more like 2/3 of votes are cast early in Knox County, because in 2020 is 153 and 50. So we did 163. So that'd still be another 70 or 80 on election day. They get us to 240, 245. That's still a big turnout around here.
Yeah, that is good. That's really good.
I mean, 2020 total turnout was 222. So, according to the stats, 23,000 first-time Knox County voters in the early voting period.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and lots of ladies. That's probably my favorite stat. Early votes cast by gender: 65,000 female, 83,000. I'm sorry, 65,000 male, 83,000 female, and 22,000 unknown. Apparently, on the federal, if you register through the federal registration, it doesn't have a gender identification. But the state, if you do the state registration, it has gender identification.
Yeah, and there was like a lot of stuff where it was like so many percent Democrat. It'd be like 30% Democrat, 30% Republican, and like 30% other. And I guess that's just how like the registration kind of panned out, like who registered what party.
Well, Tennessee, you don't have to do that. I don't know if you have to do that in Missouri or not. Tennessee, we are not a obliged party state. You do not.
Right.
We have what they call open primaries. So you get to declare your party at a primary. So at a general election, It doesn't matter. But back in August, when we were doing our primaries for this race, you would walk in and say, I'm a Republican, and they give you a Republican primary, or I'm a Democrat, and they give you a Democrat primary.
Right.
And so in the primary early voting, we do get to see how many ballots were pulled by party. We don't get to see that on this kind of stuff because, according to the state, we don't know the answer to that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's just so interesting. You know, the female turnout makes sense because of abortion, you know, Trump doing away with Dobbs. But also, even whenever Nikki Haley dropped out of the primary, she was still getting 20 to 24% of the Republican vote as a protest vote.
Sure.
So do you think that 20-something% of protest vote for Haley, whenever she wasn't even in the race, do you think they're going to like all of a sudden just, you know, vote for Trump, or do you think most of those people are voting for Harris?
I think they're not voting.
Oh, you think they're just like that's like a big F and like
that'd be my guess. I mean, we'd have to ask some people if we could find them, but I would think that a lot of people, it's like, you know, like my dad's one of them. My dad's a lifelong Republican, and I think he said he voted for Trump in 2016, but he's like, I couldn't vote for him in 2020, so I just skipped it.
Yeah,
because he could never vote for a Democrat. He just can't.
Right.
That's not in his wheelhouse. It's not a possibility. He doesn't know how to circle the box with the D on it.
Right. Well, there's quite a few folks like that.
And so I would say, there's like that protest vote for Nikki Haley was people that want to vote for a Republican but cannot bring themselves to vote for Trump, but therefore cannot vote for a Democrat. And I mean, it doesn't matter for us in Tennessee, and probably for you in Missouri. I think Trump's winning Tennessee, Trump's winning Missouri. That's not a surprise.
Right.
But, I'm curious, like that. I mean, I've seen some different stuff on it. There's all sorts of polling that's got, that it's like a 49-49 to margin of error on the popular vote nationally between Harris and Trump.
Yeah.
Trump did not win the popular vote in either of his past two runs, and he's actually like. Per polling, which polling is not great consistently, but per polling, he is doing better on the popular vote than he has in the prior two elections. At least that's some of the polling that I've seen some talking about.
Right.
So like, which that in and of itself is weird.
In the swing states.
Do what?
Yeah, most of the polling I've been seeing lately, all is just focusing on swing states.
Well, I mean, because it's all that matters, technically.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
But I mean, it's a good question though, because like Brandon was just saying, like if you had a lot of people who don't want to vote for Trump, but you're in Tennessee, you could not vote for Trump and still not have to worry about a Democrat winning, because it doesn't really make a difference. I don't think there's going to be there's no way. I mean, the number of people who would not have to not vote for Trump for the Democrats of the state of Tennessee to have a chance of Kamala winning Tennessee. It's just astronomical. But if you're that Nikki Haley protest voter, you can be one of those people that skips it and at least go to bed election night knowing that you didn't help a Democrat win because Trump won your state.
Right.
Yeah. Not my fault.
Which is why all the Democrats hate me, because I'm going to be writing somebody in or voting third party. Oh, shit. I meant to try to find the video and send it to you, Sam. I was watching the Today Show this morning, and there was a disclaimer on a presidential ad, and it was not one of the two majors who was running a presidential ad on the Today Show, and it was directed at Catholics about the evils of abortion, and it was like, you remember the trucks that used to drive around town that had the abortion kills stuff on them that were real graphic?
I think so.
Like aborted fetuses, like photos of aborted fetuses and stuff like that. That's what this ad was. But anyway, it was on the Today Show, and there was a disclaimer. And it's like, we are required to run these ads if the candidate pays for it, we're required to run it as unedited or whatever. So viewer discretion advised on a freaking presidential ad campaign. It was intense.
Wow.
But it was like Taylor or something like that. It was not. I mean, it wasn't one of the two majors. I meant to look it up. I'll try to pull that real quick while we're chatting about stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just shock factor to me,
Yeah.
That's what gets people up, or gets the unmotivated people up and out and voting.
Right.
Like you said, I think that's what a lot of these like ads are, just getting people that may not have gotten up and voted, just to get them to go out to vote. It's all just hot button issues, trigger issues.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it was.
Yeah, it's just getting people fired up.
Randall Terry in the Constitutional Party. Oh, he's from Tennessee too. Way to go! And he doesn't even have ballot access in Tennessee.
You can write him in.
Yep. And he's running with a bishop, or pastor and political commentator from Texas, Stephen Brodin. I still don't know who I'm voting for president. I'm trying to figure it all out. Maybe Cornel West. That'll be a fun one.
Somebody's on fire. The roof's on fire. Which race you said you're still not sure of?
Presidential. I mean, I'm not voting for Trump. I'm not voting for Trump or Harris. That's an easy one.
All right.
Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris for the win.
The Socialist Party of America has a ticket. They're only on like 8 states as a write-in, 2 as a registered write-in, and 1 certified in Iowa. It looks like.
We've talked about that before. That on like most ballots throughout the U.S., there's usually still like somebody of like the Communist Party, a Socialist Party, and like Green, the Libertarian. There's usually like a couple more kind of odd ones.
Kennedy's still on 31 ballots, it looks like.
Right. Yeah, so there's a couple.
Removed from
Couple
19.
cases made it all the way up to the Supreme Court to have them stay on the ballot or take off the ballot.
Yeah, let's see here. He's out. He got off of Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia, Ohio. He's off of the Missouri ballot. Not that really matters, but he's still on Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania.
One that he would still have to stay on. I'll say at least one of them was like swing state.
I think there's 2.
Yeah, Pennsylvania. He's still like he's an automatic write-in, but it also shows him removed from the ballot. I'm not sure what that means in this little color coding map. But Michigan, Wisconsin, he's still on the ballot. And Nevada, Nevada he was removed from the ballot. So yeah, what else am I missing? Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia. Those are the big 5 this time around.
Yeah.
Arizona,
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, Arizona, Nevada is another one that gets a lot of talk, but he's off most of those. He's on like of that list we just said. He's still on Michigan, Wisconsin, and maybe Pennsylvania. But everywhere, all the other swing state ballots, he's gotten off of. Oh, Vermin's running again.
Who?
Vermin Supreme. He used to run as a libertarian. He's a funny dude.
Oh, Vermin. He wears a boot on his head.
Yes, he does. He's on one ballot, and it is what is that? Delaware, maybe? Yeah,
Delaware.
He's on
that sounds right.
He's on the Delaware ballot, and that's it. This is cool. This wiki article is pretty perfect. I like the way they put this together. Got a map with everybody showing where everybody's at. Jill Stein. She's not on the ballot in Nevada or Oklahoma or Indiana. Interesting.
or Indiana.
But yeah, so one of those other people, I'm not sure. Chase Oliver, he's the official Libertarian Party candidate. I don't really know much of him, but we'll see. I might do Cornel West just for funnies. He's a write-in here.
He's just independent, right?
Yeah. Let's see here. He is affiliated with the Aurora Party in Alaska, the Oregon Progressive Party, the United Citizens Party in South Carolina, the United Party of Colorado, Green Mountain Peace and Justice Party in Vermont, Nebraska Legal Marijuana Now Party in Nebraska, and the Justice for All Party in Louisiana, Maine, North Carolina, Washington, Wisconsin, and ME. What's ME, guys?
Maine.
What's MN? Minnesota?
Minnesota, yeah.
Or Montana? Which one's Montana?
MT,
yeah.
The M's are the worst. Okay. So, yeah. He's,
Michigan's MI.
what's New Mexico then? I don't know. That doesn't work at all. So, yeah. So anyway, that's like, I don't know. Like, I think I've got my most of my ballot figured out. I got to vote for Timmy B. I know that's going to get some hate, but I like Timmy Burchett. He just votes no on spending any money, and I love that. I mean, he does. He's running for his 4th term in Congress for District 2 in the state of Tennessee, and to my knowledge, he has never approved a spending package. He has never voted yes on a spending package since he's been in Congress.
I wonder if he's been done any like present non-voting.
That's a good question.
Not for him. I'm not voting for it, but I won't say no to it.
I mean, but like his thing is like, there's a bunch of crap in here, And I refuse to vote yes on something that has a bunch of crap in it. If you want to put a budget together that is specifically the budget and doesn't have a bunch of random this, that, and the others, then I might vote for it. But if you're going to put a bunch of pork in
like how much
earmarked, then I'm out.
No, he's on like the national. Is he on like Homeland Security Committee or something?
I don't know what committee assignments he has. That's a good question.
I'm trying to think. Like, I wonder, like, those things he doesn't vote for. When it comes down to like fiscal spending or whatever, like how much did he actually try to whittle away at some of that? Did he actually try to like negotiate and be like, okay, I like some of this.
He's on the House Oversight and Accountability Committee.
Okay, yeah.
And in the Subcommittee on Cybersecurity, Information Technology, and Government Innovation, and the Subcommittee of Government Operations and Federal Workforce, House Foreign Affairs Committee, Subcommittee on Middle East, North Africa, and Central Asia, and Subcommittee on Oversight and Accountability in the Foreign Affairs Committee, and then Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. He is in Aviation, Highways and Transit, Railroads, Pipelines, and Hazardous Materials.
Damn. He's a busy man.
Yeah. So we learn things. So no, he doesn't really. I mean, right? His version of oversight is spend less money. That's his jam. Say again.
That he's a fiscal conservative. It sounds like.
Yep. I'm not bad. I can't get mad at that. That's in my wheelhouse.
Right.
And Jane George is a little bit of a kook. Not that really excludes anybody from running for office, obviously. I mean, she's an acupuncture. She does acupuncture and chiropractor, and she's into holistic medicine, which I guess that's not a bad thing per se. But she's also a California Democrat, so she's a little bit more Democrat than I can handle.
She's blue, big D Democrat.
Yeah, she is. So I might be right. No, Timmy's got my vote in that one. I think I'm voting for Gloria Johnson because I really I cannot stand Marsha Blackburn. And if the miracle that somehow Gloria wins that seat, I'm really curious because I know her and I've met her and I've spent time with her, and I'd actually believe in her as an honest person. And I'm curious to watch how the machine handles her, whether the machine chews her up and she turns into what the machine wants her to be, or whether she gets kicked out in one term because she doesn't do what she's told.
I think she stuck to her guns pretty well through her political career.
Yeah, but she didn't need. It didn't matter. I mean, that's why. I've always made that joke. It's like she has the easiest job in politics. She's a Democrat in Tennessee House. Her job isn't to accomplish anything. Nobody expects her to accomplish anything. She just gets to complain about whatever she wants to complain about, and her base loves that because they hate the supermajority.
I mean, eventually, your constituents are going to be like, "Did you even try to, cross the aisle to come to some kind of compromise?"
No, the best thing she's done that her constituents love her for most was get kicked out last year, and
been part of some co-sponsor on some bills that got passed.
If her name's on it, it immediately dies. She's had 2 bills that she wrote and introduced like 3 sessions ago.
Right, I'm talking about like just co-sponsors. Something she put her name on as like one of the co-sponsors. 15 people.
I would say so if Lafferty wanted to put a bill on and he was trying to shop co-sponsors, he's not going to her because his bill dies when her name gets on it.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure she's voted on things that have passed, and she's voted yes for those things to pass from time to time. But the best thing she's really ever done is she's introduced some bills that were actually good bills, and they killed it, and then some Republican reintroduced it later.
All right.
That's her real claim to fame here, and her real accomplishments here is that was my bill that they wouldn't pass because it was me.
Yeah. And
she has a couple of those in her tenure. But other than that, she just gets to pitch fit, and I'm not trying to downplay her role. It's an important role. But she just gets to pitch a fit, do pressers about how stupid the Republicans are, and her base loves her for it, and the rest of the state hates her. But that's a win for where she's at. Now, when she gets into the federal House, or Senate, rather, in this case, that's a whole different animal. There is an obligement to do some work and actually, get some things done. But then there's also the party politics at that level, which aren't as fluid as they are here locally, especially for Democrats.
I mean, you don't really hear much about our other senator, anything they're doing. You mainly just hear about Marsha.
Yeah.
Right. Haggerty's pretty low key.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's around. He does stuff. He's got his pictures with Trump on his Facebook page and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he is not the flashy. But I think he gets away with that because he's a good senator and does what he's told. Like, I think he votes the way he's supposed to vote. Doesn't make a big ruckus. Doesn't want a big ruckus. But just kind of quietly does the job he is, I will say, told to do. Or he thinks he's supposed to do. I don't know, however you want to word that.
So it's definitely desirable when you have such a close divide in the Senate.
Right, but I still think he votes with whatever the Republican caucus tells him to vote for. Like, I don't think he's crossed the aisle to make anything happen.
Right, yeah.
For good or bad. He's just, when, I guess Mitch McConnell, not Mitch McConnell. Is it Mitch McConnell? Who's the Republican caucus?
Senate leader?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoever that is says, hey, Republicans were voting this way on this thing. He says, okay, and goes about his business. Marsha likes the limelight, and that's why that's the only reason we can hear about her is because she goes out and runs her mouth all the time. He just does the same thing that she does, voting-wise, just doesn't make a big stink all the time.
Yeah, she's got to publicly clutch her pearls for sure.
Yeah, which is those are the commercials I could really, really do without.
Yeah. The ones where she's smashing China.
I've already told Sam this joke, and I guarantee, I'll bet good money that those plates were made in China.
I'm sure.
I mean, because the consistency in programming is not important to them. It's just to get the main point across. It doesn't matter how they have to do it.
Right.
But yeah, so yeah, I'm probably going to vote for Gloria just because I want to see what happens. Like, I'm really curious. Like, I don't think she's got a chance, really, realistically. I think it's one of those, like we've talked about the last couple of weeks, Sam, where it may be the beginnings of maybe in another cycle or two, there may be a real shot of a Democrat winning this seat because the margins are starting to actually shift in that direction. And I still think that too, Sam. I think we're going to look at a lot closer margins on a lot of races that the party people are going to be freaking out, whether pro or con. Like, I think the Republican Party in Knox County is going to be freaking out with some of the election results, even though they're going to win almost everything, as they're supposed to win almost everything. But I think they're only going to win by 5 or 6 points instead of 10 or 15, and it's going to be a big deal. And so the Democrats on the other side are going to be like, yeah, we lost by less.
It's a win.
They're going to be super excited about it. I like that's my prediction on it, except for this 18 race for me.
At least we came in second.
That 18 race might be the one that is the actual win for the Democrats here. Because I think Elaine Davis is distinctly unlikable. I've not enjoyed any contact I've had with her. I've been over it at length. I think she's a trash person and a trash politician at that. Like, she's just so transparent. Like, there was, what was it? No, that wasn't her. I'm sorry. I'm conflating people here. There was Jesse and Scott were talking about it on their podcast today. There's somebody in the county commission who was one of Eric Wader's people who, like, legitimately just forwarded an email from Eric to the commission to get it on the agenda. You get what I'm saying?
I just forwarded an email as like an item of...
Right. Eric sent her an email, this person an email, and said, hey, get this. We need to get this on the agenda.
Yeah.
And so she just hit forward. She didn't even, like, copy and paste it to make it look like she wrote the email.
Right.
Like actual FWD : subject.
Let's talk about... Right.
Yeah. So I should be nicer to Eric. I need to get him on the show. Talk to him about his puppet mastering that he likes to do.
You say wait till after the election.
I mean, I think, like, when he, like, I mean, I don't know if he listens or not. I know he listens to the Compass Guys a lot, but I know he's listened to our show a few times at least. You know, He's not. I don't think he's trying to hide what he's doing. He's not trying to. He's trying to be low key about it, but he's not trying to hide the fact that he's trying to be, behind the scenes person in major East Tennessee politics. He just doesn't want to be the face. I don't think I'm saying anything that everybody doesn't know. But that makes it hard for me to get him to come on the show because he doesn't want to be the face, so why would he come on the show?
Right.
But I'll tell you what, I get it. Like when he pulled me aside, we had lunch one day and he was telling me about I asked him, I was like, why do the Republicans hate Eddie Massey Eddie Manis so much? And he's like, because he doesn't vote with the Republicans when we ask him to. And it's like, okay, like that makes total sense from your party politics game point of view. That's a problem for you guys. To me, as a constituent, that sounds wrong in saying it out loud. But
I think in a supermajority House, I mean, it's not going to hurt their numbers. So I don't know if it's more like besmirching the GOP name and track record.
Right, it's one of those that we want 100% Republican conformity on an issue is part of it for sure. Yeah. But I think too, it's the same thing we're teasing about in these margins. It's like it's opening the door for, more. I mean, for that matter, it's more centrist ideas. Well, some of the Eddie Manis stuff is probably true left, I guess. Some of that less stuff has legitimacy if one of our guys says so. And we don't want that out. We don't want to have to fight that again later. So let's just get this person out of the way so we don't have to deal with that. We don't have to make that, what was it? He voted against, what was it? It was like the trans athlete bill, I think is the one he voted against that got him in the most trouble.
No, I think it was the bathroom bill.
They couldn't celebrate the fact that they finally got a gay Republican in the House. Which
I want to say bathroom bill. I'm not sure if he weighed in on the trans athletes.
Yeah, I don't remember which ones actually got into bills and which ones were just like, stump yelling at each other stuff.
Yeah.
But I liked Eddie. I wish he would have stayed. I wish he would have stayed and fought it and ran independent and broke down the stupidness that is the Republican. I mean, they're still running the ads about. They added a new layer to the Brian Goldberg doesn't pay his taxes on time. He also doesn't file his campaign reports on time either.
Really?
Yeah, which it might be true. I don't know. I've gotten no confirmation on whether I haven't seen. I haven't got anything from Chris Davis or anything like stating that he did not file on time. But they do that. Like everybody does that all the time. Like all the time. Like I remember I talked to Chris. Go ahead.
It sounds bad when you put it in bold print and on a glossy font.
But I talked to Chris Davis about it. I was like, so how's that work if somebody doesn't do their stuff? And it's like, we'll send them an email and be like, hey, can you get this stuff turned in? And it's like, if they don't do it again, it's like, we'll send another email and then maybe one more. And then I might actually go down to their workplace or stop by their house and talk to them personally. It's never really gotten past me giving them
like, oh, you missed a deadline, you're now off.
Right. It's never got. Chris would say it's like never got past the point where like a phone call didn't go. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm getting on it. I'll get it taken care of, and within a couple of days, it's taken care of.
Right. It's just like financial reports or whatever. Your like campaign finance report.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I can imagine. You're at this stage, and like I mean, like for a District 18 race, like there's a lot of stuff going on. I've seen like he's been on a lot of different. I haven't seen him in a lot of like interviews or anything like that, but he's got commercials running and he's been doing a bunch of stuff and they're out doing door knockings and coming to my house and can't figure out what my last name is and that whole thing. And so I could imagine that filing of that paperwork fell off the list of shit because it's not really front of mind when you're out begging people to come out and vote for you.
Right.
Not an excuse. Like you're supposed to do it. So you should have done it. But at the same time, it's not that big a fucking deal. But it is the state Republicans. Somebody will do it. Like the Tennessee Holler will do it or something. They'll go dig it out and find how many Republicans didn't file their stuff on time in the same cycle, and it's going to be a goodly sum. I guarantee it.
Right.
It's like, yeah, but...
Count up all your war chests.
But it's a pattern from this guy because he's not doing it, and he didn't pay his taxes on time, and that other stuff.
Don't forget about the other stuff.
and his agenda is super expensive, and it's going to cost Shelby County taxpayers a bunch of money, which doesn't make any sense. So I don't know. How was the road trip out there? Anything exciting on the streets? What did you drive to? How many miles is it from here to there?
Oh, it's like 6 or 7 hours. 300, no, maybe like 400 miles. Yeah, round about.
That's not bad.
Yeah, not too bad. Some little traffic in Nashville, as always.
Yeah.
I even headed around 3 o'clock, and I'm still just, I guess, kind of like we're in Knoxville, where you've got like major interstates that kind of like merge in together. Then all of a sudden, you got to split off again, like right after that.
Yeah, I was coming from Central back here at 10 o'clock this morning, and that where 275 hits 40 West, that usually gets backed up from like 4 to 6. It was backed up at 10 o'clock this morning.
Yeah,
I was quite upset. I was almost late for the Crumpets Guys podcast because of that. But so what? You go all the way to Memphis, or did you go up to Louisville? Like, how do you get there? I don't know how to get there from here.
We go toward like Paducah, which is like the northwest corner of Kentucky, and I actually like went into Illinois for a little bit.
Oh, did you go get an abortion and some weed while you were there? That's where all the people from Nashville go get their abortions and weed.
Wasn't necessary this time.
Well, it's somebody was telling me about that. Like, there's a clinic in Paducah that has like an ad network that runs all the way down into Nashville, because that's the closest place to Nashville.
To Nashville?
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Is there a clinic in Nashville?
No, there's no way you can't get an abortion in Nashville. You have to.
Oh, they go pick people up from Nashville.
Right. They go up to Paducah.
Really?
Right. Yeah.
Break laws.
Do what?
They're facilitating.
Yeah. They're going to go to jail for that, apparently. Unless it's mom or dad doing it, I guess. I don't know. I'm still confused. We'll see if that one comes back. I mean, charters is going to be the big one. That's going to be the big fight, I think, this year. I don't think there's any. I don't know. I mean, our legislature's crazy, so I'm sure there is. I just don't feel like there's any appetite for trying to hammer down the abortion any more than it already is. And I guess it'll depend. Like, I think it'll depend on who wins the White House, on how much it becomes an issue or not. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
Like, I think if Trump wins, there'll be more appetite to hammer further down because they are empowered by it. But I think if Kamala wins, they're just going to quietly just trying to keep it the way it is as long as they can. That would be my guess.
Yeah, it's a very divisive issue.
But it's not. That's the thing that you were saying earlier. It's like one of the most unifying issues there are. But the problem is, too, it's a lot of the survey questions aren't really fair either. It's like all or none. Well, somewhere in the middle. But if I have to pick one, I guess all.
Yeah, I mean, it's as far as it being divisive, it's divisive from a political standpoint because they run on it as a hot button issue to drive people out of the woodworks and get them to come out and vote. But as far as like the poll, like people agreeing upon it, yeah, everybody very well agrees that abortion's something that it's a right that we should have. But it's always like an emotional, like pull the heartstrings kind of issue for sure.
It is.
But
it was the worst thing for Republicans running for office when Trump put those. I mean, it was the worst thing they could have done for political ends was to overturn Roe v. Wade.
They like just overestimated, and they thought that it would make more of their constituents happy, and it ended up kind of backfiring. I'm not really sure if they really thought it out. Didn't think the blowback would be as bad.
I mean, this is Trump, so thinking.
Well, I know it's like the GOP in general, not just Trump.
I don't know. I mean, that's a question because I think on the particular topic, I do think that's one of the few things that they are philosophically consistent about. They think it's killing babies, and that's that. And so for them, it is philosophically they don't care about the blowback, or at least a goodly sum does.
They see it as not really wanting to like compromise their morals by like giving an exception or like making it 20 weeks or whatever.
Right.
They see that ceding some ground basically.
Right. Well, I mean, they say that it's okay to kill babies for 10 weeks, but not for 12 weeks. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll do it for right.
But I don't know. It's such a I don't know.
I did find the one story I was mentioning earlier. It was in California where people were getting threatening letters for. It was all just like Harris people that had Harris signs. But,
In California?
yeah,
That's weird.
I mean, we were talking about like last week. I mean, there's pockets of like quote unquote Democratic states that still have decent pockets of like some GOP control.
Yeah, but you don't really. I don't know. It's a little bit more of a risky threat if you're in California than if you're in Tennessee.
I mean, you get like the rural parts of it.
I suppose. Like the Ohio one, because I don't know. I get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. It's stupid.
This is that kind of mentality, I guess, that encouraged people to feel brazen enough to photocopy or type up and photocopy a bunch of letters to try to scare people.
I mean, I don't know. It's one of those. It's like how well did the propaganda hit on you? Is it like you don't care? Like, is lying and cheating worth it if you're stopping the devil? Like there's that aspect.
Right.
Like if this is like if Trump is literally Hitler,
she was called the Antichrist.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like if the propaganda hits you right, and you truly believe that Trump is actually Hitler, then you can probably justify doing a lot of things that you wouldn't normally do to stop the Antichrist or Hitler or whatever it is. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it preys off of the stupidity of the public, but
right.
I mean, as I believe we've said a few times, that the public at large is pretty stupid.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It was like telling me that Kamala said at some Kamala said at some point that she was going to implement a national buyback. I don't know if we mentioned that last week. I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" I was like, "I haven't heard this at all." Of course, when I asked him to find it, he can't find it anywhere. And he's like, "I saw it." I was like, it doesn't make any sense at all. I'm like, there's no way to do it. I was like, no politician has ever talked about any kind of like mandatory buyback. I was like, voluntary buybacks have always been a thing, but I was like, mandatory. I was like, I'm sorry, man. I was like, that sounds like some crazy shit.
I mean, I'm sure it's one of those like in some think tank that's associated with the Democratic Party that may have some former staffer from the Biden administration or something on it. I'm sure that's something that's in one of those, the Democratic version of a Project 2025. I'm sure it exists. I'm sure there are.
What she has said this for her campaign. It was like part of like one of her campaign points or something.
Yeah,
there's so much just like rhetoric thrown around. It's pretty crazy.
I heard an interesting little bit on that is as far as like some of the campaign styles, I suppose is the way to look at it, is that pre-internet or like mass internet media and Facebook and all that kind of stuff, one of the like playbooks as a politician, especially like a presidential politician, because you got to go the whole country, not just in your own state or your own district or whatever, is like the traditional stump speech is a copy paste. You just do it over and over and over again because you're trying to send the same message to a different audience. And where, like Trump never was getting good at doing that consistently, but where in like the new media landscape, you actually just kind of sound stupid because you're just saying the same thing over and over again because everybody sees you. Like they were talking about like Trump's did that Madison Square Garden rally, and then he's doing another one in Virginia. And he's doing one in some other state that's like not really, like doesn't really make sense politically, like old school politically. Like why is he going to Virginia?
Arizona or Nevada today, and I think Virginia maybe. Yeah,
the Virginia one was the one they were talking about because it's like Virginia's it's not in play. You don't have to worry about it. It's going to be what it is. It's like, so if you're going to Virginia, is this hoping that people from North Carolina come up?
Well, I think and I think pretty sure he's a Republican.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's definitely some Republican parts.
Right, but I think the conclusion, at least that this guy was talking about, it's like it's more about it's like he's going to do his thing and he's going to get coverage, and people from the swing states are going to see that coverage. He doesn't need to go to Atlanta to do a stump speech because anybody in Atlanta is going to see the speech he does in Virginia, or he does in Nevada, or this Madison Square Garden thing. You don't need to repeat yourself on location anymore because everybody gets to see it. That was kind of the point.
Yeah, Vance and Rogan. I think he was on there a couple nights ago.
Vance was on Rogan?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that one. I did go through. I sat through the whole 3 hours of Trump on Rogan.
It's really damn. Go you.
I mean, it was actually not bad. It wasn't hard to listen to. There was a couple parts where I was like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. There's this, that, and the other, but there's some stupid parts.
He was like, this is going to like set him over. Like, he's really relatable on it. Actually, speaking like a lot more like down to earth.
I mean, I could see that as part of the takeaway from it. Like, he Freudian slipped the I lost the 2020 election. Like, he said it, and then he's like, no, I mean, like, like they say I lost it. I actually won it, but they say I lost it, but he just said I lost it. There's one that was interesting because he was talking about. I think it was because like Rogan's a big Kennedy fan. And he was talking about whatever cabinet head or whatever Kennedy's going after.
Okay.
And it's like they were kind of touching on some of Kennedy's like environmental stuff from his past or whatever. And like Trump starts in and like it was funny because Trump was like talking about it while he was doing it. He's like, he calls it the weave. He's like, I don't just answer the question. I weave a bunch of different things together. And so he's weaving a bunch of different things together on because he loves his tariffs and on why the Green New Deal sucks. And like, it was really kind of obscure for a minute, but as he started to kind of close the weave off, it's like, okay, I'm not sure about the facts of this, but I see the logic in it. It's like, well, if we tariff the shit out of China so that we can produce the same thing here at a competitive price, even at a lesser environmental standard than we currently use, we'll be doing less damage to the environment overall than China is. And again, I'm not saying these are facts as far as A or B to it, but it's like if we're going to agree for the sake of conversation that China's a lot dirtier in their manufacturing than we are,
right?
And if a tariff works in reality the way everybody says they theoretically work, then yeah, it would make sense that if we were to spin up a automobile manufacturing facility in Detroit again, that even if we do it at lesser environmental standards than we currently have, it would be well above the environmental standards that China would be doing the same plant for.
Right. I know we already kind of do it to an extent as far as like, subsidizing, because what if there's a way to kind of do almost like a reverse tariff on and as a way to encourage American companies to buy American products versus just tariff the incoming products.
I mean, it's a 6 or half dozen. Would be the only way I could explain that. I mean, you could do it. It would just be okay. We're gonna subsidize cars, I guess, since we're on that example.
I think you could almost kind of like make both work. I mean, I don't know what kind of like dependence level we are China. I know we're still pretty dependent upon for a lot of like cheaper goods, but where, China's still getting their money on the products that we buy, it's taxed and tariffed of their products that are coming in versus if we subsidize American products, that's encouraging more production to be done here. And it's saving money versus the companies having to kind of pay that extra tariff tax or whatever for that same product.
Right, but then we would have to pay a tax somewhere else to offset that subsidy. And so it should, all things being equal, the consumer would pay the same addition, whether it's a tariff or a subsidy. Because somewhere that we'd have to get that tax money to pay the subsidy.
It should, if the American company can buy it locally, that's a little bit more expensive, but it's subsidized to essentially be the same price. The price would stay the same versus that company buying that same product overseas and having to pay the tariff when it gets here, where they're going to have to raise that price because it's a more expensive thing. Yeah,
right.
I don't know.
Right, but that subsidy that's paying the difference has to come from somewhere.
Right.
And so, so let's say, I don't know, let's just throw it.
Never mind.
No,
I think I'm thinking.
I understand the premise of what you're saying. I'm just trying to explain why I don't think it'll work. Right. It could work. I could be wrong. You could poke holes in my understanding real quick.
Well, I have to look at like numbers of it. I guess it would depend on the product, what kind of profit margin you were looking at.
Yeah, but I would say if you just pick something simple out of nowhere and just say wheels for a just the wheels on a Ford F-150 that's manufactured in Michigan. I don't even know if they make them in Michigan anymore, but just for the conversation's sake, they're importing wheels from China for $10 a wheel. There's a company in Ohio that can make the same ones for $15 or something very similar, and the government steps in and does a subsidy to Ford to buy those wheels from the company in Ohio at $15 a wheel, and then that's $5 per wheel that's getting subsidized from the state of Michigan or the federal government, whatever it is. That $5 from the state of.
I guess that maybe that's kind of looking a little bit more like the long game, as far as you could be increasing production, could be increasing, number of employees there. That would increase then like local tax input.
Right.
People.
I mean, if we could do it, if it was done in a way where, like, instead of, buying another, $500 billion aircraft carrier, we spend that $500 billion on subsidizing manufacturing of consumer goods in the United States. I could see that one as being a pro.
Yeah.
But, there's no Democrat or Republican that's gonna look at the defense budget as a place to start hacking things out and spending elsewhere.
Sure.
That would be, that's the number one solution to all things to me. Like, we don't need to be 10 times greater of a military than any other nation in the world. And the next 3 on the list, I think, are all long-term allies. I don't remember.
Well, one guy that sent you the video was on, he was talking on Rogan. He was kind of talking about it in the way some of the benefits of the U.S. having like a strong Navy and a strong presence across the world is that it has allowed like shipping lanes to be, relatively safe, outside of, the pirates off like not the Horn of Africa, but around like Yemen and what is it?
Somalia.
Yeah.
Somalia, that kind of area.
That's the Horn, isn't it? I thought that was the Horn. That's where the little poke out on the east side goes.
I think the Horn is South Africa.
Yeah.
Oh, the bottom.
Yeah.
I mean, the Somalia, that little jut out there looks more like a horn than South Africa does. I'm just saying.
I could see.
Like on a map, it's kind of pointy.
I thought there was like Magellan. It was like the first one to go around like the Horn of Africa.
I don't know. Suez Canal was on Jeopardy the other night. I nailed that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. We don't have to argue that one any more than we already have. I don't know. I can't. I can acknowledge that it would but again, okay. So in going back to like the domestic economy issues, it's like, well, okay, yeah, we can get stuff from around the world easier and probably therefore cheaper because we're not having as many pirates and stuff like that get into it. But hell, so we're paying for the security system and we get the backlash when we kind of try to tax the rest of the world to ship stuff to us? Does that make sense?
Say it again now?
Like if a tariff is taxing the rest of the world to import things to us, that's what tariffs are. And every time we place a tariff, we get in these...
It's not taxing the world, though.
Say again?
It's not taxing the world.
Yeah, I mean, the tax is placed on the importer.
Right.
A tariff would go, so like Hyundai shipping a car in, Hyundai pays the tax. Do they wrap that up in the price of the car? Yes. Does the end consumer end up being the one that pays that additional fee? Yes.
We had Hyundai US, but not like the Hyundai factory. Well, I guess it's all within their thing anyway. But
okay, whatever it is, whatever
the importers that tax, right?
Right. And so when we get into these trade wars and tariff wars with people, when we start tariffing import of goods, but we're also the world's ocean security system. And I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there. It's like, if our Navy and its presence around the world is what makes shipping possible, as consistently and cheaply it is, maybe the rest of the world should chip in, or maybe we should pay less for our goods that we get. That seems fair.
I think he was more kind of talking about, I guess, we kind of took for granted, the kind of free flowing of goods that we've had over the past 50, 75 years, kind of due to the benefit of, our strategic sprawl, if you want to call it that, I guess.
Right, but we're paying for it. That's my
I was
point.
gonna say it was a great thing, but I think he said, there was a benefit, and that was kind of a reason why some of the goods was so cheap. And it allowed us to, get cheaper goods that were being produced cheaper elsewhere. So it was just kind of like, double cost savings on, two things that could be more expensive as far as like manufacturing and transportation.
Right. But the security system is expensive separately.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's interesting. I think I think that's something to dive deeper into. I'm very curious about that now that we're thinking about it. I don't know. You wanted to keep it fairly short. What else? You got any news of the weird or anything you want to get through? And we can call it a show. You guys can get back to your Missouri Midnights or whatever you guys do out there in the flatlands.
There's a few hills here. The city's really low right now. I'll take a picture of it and send it to you.
Okay. I was actually going to ask if it was kind of crazy right now, but it's been, like I said, I was joking in the intro. It's like it rained here finally for the first time a little bit today.
Yeah, same here. I think they said it'd been almost a month here since it rained, and there's a decent bit of rain yesterday for a good half the day.
But yeah, I don't know. Like I was thinking, yeah, what's the temperature out there right now?
Right now, let's see here, 51.
I think it's supposed to get in the 40s tonight.
Yeah, we're going to get pretty chilly tonight, but not that cold, I don't think.
I think we've already had a freeze here. We had a freeze a couple weeks ago.
We had a couple of frost a few weeks back. It got fairly chilly. Weather Channel's telling me it's 59 here right now, but it was mid 70s today. But
nice.
Let's see, we got
I'm over it. I'm ready to be cold. I want it to act like fucking fall.
It's like Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear shows off his Ted Lasso look on Halloween.
Nice. I can see that. That's a Democrat in a red state.
Yeah.
And a super likable one. Everybody loves him.
Yeah, seems pretty good. I know he fought hard for teachers, I think, was one thing that kind of got his name in the state. I think it was big advocate. I can't remember what it was. It's probably 6 or so years ago or so.
Yeah, I do recall his teacher unions and stuff like that he was a big advocate on behalf of. I need to get some teachers back in here. Talk about why they bother teaching in Knox County schools and they can go to like Oak Ridge and get paid a lot more. Or Kentucky. Actually, I don't know if that's true.
Jaywalking's now legal in New York City. Not that most of them weren't doing it anyway.
Man, I jaywalk all the time. Not in New York, in Knoxville, but...
Shit. There's a 7'9". He's the world's tallest teen in an intriguing basketball project.
7'9"?
Yes.
That's pretty tall.
How old he is.
35.
Okay.
So he's a Cuban baseball player.
Florida.
Do I?
Oliver Ryu in Gainesville, so I guess he plays for the Gators.
He's at a high school in Florida.
No, I think he's in college in Georgia or Florida. Sorry.
Yeah, Gainesville would be U of F.
He's 3 inches taller than Yao Ming.
Is he all lanky and weird looking?
What's that?
Is he all lanky and weird looking, or is he like thick like Shaq?
Looks pretty damn skinny. And so I guess he's in college, but I guess he's still a teenager, so probably 19, I guess, 18, 19.
That's incredibly tall. Like that's like don't have to jump to dunk tall.
If you're some guy, it's really weird looking up to someone that's 7'1" center.
Yeah, I mean I'm 6'1", and it's weird to look up at people.
Right.
Actually, I had my physical a couple weeks ago. I'm 6'2.5" with my shoes on. So,
yeah.
I don't know how thick my shoes are. My shoes aren't more than maybe an inch at best. So I think I've grown in the last year or so, like a quarter inch.
Yeah, I think he may be a freshman there. Yeah, that's crazy. Freaking tall.
That's super tall. Can't wait to see that here in a couple of weeks. Once actually, I think men's basketball has started. Should be starting up preseason stuff like that at least.
UT?
Yeah.
NBA.
UT. I mean, NBA, I don't know. Like NBA's got the crazy longest schedule. I'm trying to figure out Premier League schedule.
Their playoffs are always the same time as like Stanley Cup.
Yeah, but their season runs pretty close to NHL, so I think they start. If they haven't started already, they start pretty soon. They might have already started. I'm trying to figure out Premier League schedule. That's weird.
It's going on now, because I don't see like tables.
Yeah,
of, like stand.
Yeah, they're a couple games in. I mean, they're a couple games in. Like they're like, I think this is week 10. That's what it is. Week 10 is this weekend. But I was looking
when it was, I saw a local story about the Knoxville team going to like playoffs, and I think it said it was going to be aired on like ESPN Plus.
Nice. Yeah. So like Merchants of Beer, the tin can down there on the edge of the old city.
Yeah,
they closed this past weekend. And apparently they were the Man U gathering place. And we're seeing if we can't get that. We can't get the Man U, whatever their team name is, to be Pirates for the rest of the season.
One of the guys I used to work with, I think they've got people that meet up to watch West Ham, like the Hammers or whatever. I've seen them occasionally, like
Union Jacks is a
watch parties.
Not Union Jacks. Union Place is some Premier League. They have I've seen a couple of them around. Flats and Taps across the streets of us. I think it's the Chelsea headquarters. There's a couple of them. I mean, we got a bunch of NFL ones too. Like, there's a Packer bar somewhere.
Yeah, I wish there was a Predator one around town. I don't think there is.
We could make one. I got a bar that needs things to do on what, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Maybe not Saturday, but Tuesday, Wednesday nights. The weeknight games, we could definitely get something going on.
Yeah, no, we can't do that, man. It's whenever there's a Preds game on, there's a fucking watch party.
Okay, well, if your watch party exceeds what a normal crowd is, then the watch party wins.
Okay.
I mean, that's kind of, I don't know. Well, Premier League's on Saturday and Sunday. It's the same as U.S. football schedules.
All right.
And we don't have a football watching crowd, so it doesn't interfere with anything. I mean, I don't care if you want to put it together, man. We will host.
No, I don't think so.
That's how I make sure things don't happen. Is I put you in charge of them. Is that what you're saying? All right, Brandon. You want to we talked about the boat last time a little bit. How long are you out when you go back out?
I go back out Tuesday, so this coming week I go back out, and I'll be gone for 28 days. My normal hitch, I normally ride for 28 days on the boat. And then I have 14 days off, so I get 2 weeks off.
So 4 on, 2 off.
Yeah.
And so you go, and that's, like, how many? So in 4 weeks on the boat, how many times do you get up and down the river?
Usually our run is from St. Genevieve, Missouri, which is kind of south of St. Louis, to north of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We go all the way down to Louisiana, pretty much. So one southbound trip usually takes us about 7 days, and then a northbound coming back northbound usually takes us about twice as long, so usually 14 days. So I usually go down and then make it back up, and then usually part the way down. It just depends on how low the river is. There's river closures, if they're dredging, if the Army Corps of Engineers dredging. It depends on a lot of stuff, man. Like it's a real, like, there's a lot of free radicals on the boat. You never know. Like you could run aground and break up tow and have to like put tow back together for like 2 days straight. Anything's possible, really.
What are you usually moving?
My company owns rock quarries, so we push rock. We mine rock. We've got a quarry, maybe like an hour north of here, and we push rock. We mine rock at the quarry, and most of our rock is actually contracts for the Army Corps of Engineers. So we do a lot of work with the Army Corps of Engineers, and a lot of it goes to build dikes in the river to maintain the river channel. And then whenever they dredge, sometimes some of our boats will assist them in their dredging operations. which is like they basically close down the river to northbound and southbound traffic, and they'll just like dredge the channel, and then they'll kind of let people through accordingly. But yeah, the Army Corps of Engineers does a lot with the locks and dams and the river systems. A lot of people are, not aware of what the Army Corps of Engineers actually, accomplishes.
Agreed.
Yeah.
That'd be a fun deep dive. What all they're doing. I mean, like I get it. Like I would presume that river is constantly getting filled up with more dirt and sediment from every tributary that's dumping into it constantly, and
It's nice muddy brown.
yeah. And it's like,
Well, that's what a lot of the silt is down in like Louisiana. It's just kind of like silt that comes down the Mississippi.
Yeah, I mean that's what the Delta is. Yeah, the Delta is just the millennia of runoff from all the way from Denver to. I mean, hell, that gets up there into like here.
Minnesota.
Like I could take it. When it gets out of the brass tacks of it, I take a shit. It'll eventually end up down there. From here.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, I know what a continental divide is at least.
Right.
Like all water goes west for me. Until it gets to you, and then it goes south. Because we don't. Yeah. There's not a lot of. There's not a lot. Yeah. At least for Tennessee's sake, I think all the major. I mean, Tennessee River goes to the Mississippi. Ohio River goes to the Mississippi.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of north-south riverway in the southeast at all.
Yep.
Everything runs in the Mississippi.
Cumberland.
Yeah. Huh. I never really thought about that much.
Yeah, it's interesting. And a lot of the Tennessee River is, there's a lot of TVA stuff, so it's a lot of dams. So some of it isn't very navigable, but they do have locks and dams. But yeah, the Tennessee River, and over into Tennessee, that's a lot of TVA area.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of my things. I like the idea of. I don't know if I ever actually want to do it, but I love the idea of getting like a nice yacht, not a huge yacht or whatever, and just plopping it down right here in Knoxville and going down to New Orleans, just seeing how the trip goes.
Yeah, it's possible. It's very possible because there's the Tom Bigby kind of intersects, and then everything pretty well winds up in the Mississippi and then goes south. Yeah,
we could definitely. It's very doable. Now might not be the best time since they're still cleaning out this hurricane flood stuff. Most of that's north of us, but I'm sure some of that's still a problem. Like it was like that was pretty amazing. I don't know, Sam. Did you ever get down to downtown after Helene?
No.
Yeah, I drove through.
Some parts like East Knoxville are pretty flooded, which right there around Chilhowie always floods bad anyway.
Yeah, no, I went and picked up the sister-in-law and was bringing her out here, and she lives like 4th and Gillish, and it was that time of day, and so I didn't want to get on the interstate, and so I took Nayland down along the riverfront on campus, and like it was up, like it wasn't on the roadway or anything, but like it was noticeably up and real dirty.
Yeah, I saw there was like a local news story earlier this week or last week. There was people that were questioning how safe the Tennessee River was because everyone was noticing how like dark and cloudy it was.
Yeah, I mean it's not ever particularly pretty, but it was definitely noticeably dirtier for a little while there. But I think they've got the water levels all figured out now.
It's still safe. We promise. We're cleaning it, guys. Don't worry.
Yeah. I mean, that was crazy. It's still crazy. I haven't been over to Asheville yet. I haven't tried. I've got some friends that have gone over, and it's interesting. You want to talk about like media coverage of stuff? Like it's hard to. I couldn't tell you with any certainty what's going on over there because I've heard stories from people that I know that we do business with over there that still don't have cell phone signals in parts of places, don't have power in parts of places, and we're a month out now,
right?
But then you can see like I've seen stories on TV where like Asheville's almost fully reopened, and it's like okay.
Some of the businesses, yeah,
and so it's
some parts are still under boil orders, water boil orders.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. There was a story today. It's like apparently FEMA offered a family $9,000 for their house that got floated down the river, downstream after the flood. So,
That's it, $9,000.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what they're offering, like $9,000 for their property that's left where the house was. I don't know, because I mean nobody's got flood. I mean you're not getting any flood insurance. Like insurance ain't paying nothing. So
I saw a couple stories of like houses. I mean they've had like some damage, but they literally got floated downstream, but they were still in decent condition. So I wonder if it's something like that. They're like, hey, your house is now in my backyard. Like I'll
$9,000, get one of those crews out there to pick it up and bring it home.
Finders keepers, it's mine, but like I'll pay $9,000. I can like leave it here, put it on the foundation,
put some blocks under it, and call it an apartment.
My big shed or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if it works, it works.
Like, I'm not gonna, unless you want to come get it. They're like, well, no, I can't pay to have that thing brought back up to my property.
Right.
Like, well, I'll give you $9,000 for it.
Oh yeah, I don't know if $9,000 will pay for those guys that can do that service. It might. I don't know. Be worth a try. But yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy happenings. So, all right, last call. People, anything else you want to talk about?
Can't think of anything in particular.
Negative.
Well, Brandon, it is so fantastic to talk to you, man. I'm glad you're safe in your boat runs.
Yeah, thanks, brother. It's good to talk to you, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, next time you're in town, we'll do it in person.
Roger.
Outro. All right, that was the podcast, everybody. Thanks for Brandon from the Missouri boat crew for sitting in and talking stuff. Tell us about what's going on in Missouri. It's always interesting to see what's going on. I do love the idea of the different ways states do elections. It's fun. It's kind of annoying, but it's fun too. Almost Agreement at gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, go to the website, almostagreement.com. Got cool stuff going on there. Go to your favorite podcast provider, like, friend, share, follow. Text us to your friends, whatever you can do to spread the word. We're going to keep doing shows and talking to people and figuring out what's going on as best we can. Next week, I guess we'll do some election recap, and we'll see if there's any surprises. I'm not betting on any, but Sam might. He's a gambler like that. He might take some crazy bets. We'll see what happens. Bye, everybody.